It's time for Supply Chain Now Radio, broadcasting live from the supply chain capital of the country, Atlanta, Georgia. Supply Chain Now Radio spotlights the best in all things supply chain. The people, the technologies, the best practices, and the critical issues of the day. And now, here are your hosts.
Hey, everybody. Scott Luton with Supply Chain Now Radio and my dear colleague,
Greg White. Good to see everybody.
I won't forget that again, Greg.
Thanks.
So we, as we wrap up or getting close to wrapping up to 2019 here at Supply Chain Now Radio, we are so thankful and grateful for all the support and the advocates and the listeners and our sponsors, you name it, that's made this year a resounding success. Yeah. But equally as important, Greg, we're excited about 2020, right?
Yeah, we got a lot going on. I see big things on the horizon generally for supply chain and for commerce in general as well.
Absolutely.
So we're starting a number of new series, right? We're starting Logistics with a Purpose with our friends at Vector Global Logistics. And by the time this plays, that first episode may be out already.
Absolutely. And in fact, you and I both are enjoying the fruits of the first episode where we brought in Mike Menina, thanks to Enrique. That's right. Thanks to Enrique and Adrian over at Vector Global Logistics, our partners for that series, Logistics with a Purpose, and had a great conversation that we'll be releasing really soon about all the really neat, they're serving industry, they're serving farmers globally, all while producing some high quality coffee that we're enjoying and fueling this episode this morning. So stay tuned for that podcast. But in the bigger sense, speaking of that series, what did you find different? What do you think is going to be so unique about this Logistics with a Purpose series, Greg?
You know what I really like is that it's a subtle, maybe not so subtle challenge to companies to make giving back part of their business model. At Vector, right, they donate to various causes for every single container that they ship. So the U.S. operation contributes food to villages in Africa. The Mexico operation contributes to kids in need, and the Chilean operation contributes to kids in need for every single container that they ship. It's a great way to create accountability for yourself, and it's also really easy to do. Every container, every dollar, pick a metric and just tie your contributions to that and make it part of your business model.
Yeah, I'm with you. And there was so much, and it was the first episode with thriveworks.org, but ton of passion in the room. That Vector they take their culture very seriously, as Greg's alluded to. And with passion, you're going to get great content. So we're looking forward to our listeners giving us feedback on that new series. And I should
Mike Menina's personal story is really inspiring as well. I mean, how he came to feel led to do what he's doing with Thrive Farmers and Thrive Works is, it's a great arc for a person.
Yep, inspiration. So on this little snippet that we're doing here today, we're going to cover 5 developments for 2020. And the first one is that Logistics with a Purpose series that we're really excited to do thanks to our partners over at Vector Global Logistics. So what is the second big development, Greg, that we're excited about for 2020?
The U.S. Bank Freight Payment Index. So we're partnering with U.S. Bank, and quarterly, people probably already know, or hopefully they know about the fact that they're releasing this freight payment index quarterly that talks about the amount of shipments and the spend on those shipments each quarter and what that indicates in terms of impact on the industry, the economy. So they've got a fellow named Bob Costello who comments on that when that comes out. And now we'll be doing that and live streaming that on Supply Chain Now Radio. So pretty exciting development. It's a great indicator of what's going on in the market. And as we know, there's been a lot going on in the market this year. It's good to have this out there for our listeners and viewers. And allow them to, hear it right away, right when the information drops. They don't have to look to page 48 of pick your favorite industry mag. They can see it right when it happens, hear the commentary directly from Bob or other representatives at US Bank, and understand where things stand in the industry. So
agreed. It's a outstanding opportunity to put your pulse on the market. If you're a supply chain professional listening to this, you get just how big of a portion the logistics and transportation spend is of a supply chain. And so why it's so important to monitor that and know where we're going and know where we are today and know where we're going. But, if you're not in supply chain, that might be news to you, and that's fine. We all don't know what we don't know, but that's why these freight payment indexes that US Bank puts out are so helpful. And that's why also you see so much analysis on freight spend, on transportation, because it is still the backbone of the global supply chain.
It is, and it's a bit in flux. I mean, look, we've seen some carriers go down in 2019. Nobody really knows what either the economy or the industry holds for 2020. It's an election year in the States. There's a lot going on globally, and I think it's good. It's going to be good for people to be able to get firsthand, instantaneous knowledge of where we stand and where that makes it appear that we're going. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your first point you made there, almost 800 transportation firms went out of business through the third quarter of 2019. Very challenging time. So hopefully 2020, there's a lot of mixed, and we've covered it on the show. We've spoken to a variety of experts that are much better at being an economist than I am. I respect your ability to be an economist, Greg. But there's a lot of
not an economist.
There's a lot of mixed views on what's going to take place in 2020. So, but regardless, our coverage of the freight payment index will be a big part of giving our listeners a sense of what to expect and where to go and how things are going to transpire from a shipping spend.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the second big development for 2020 that we're really excited about. Thirdly, Greg, so when we first started doing and building series at Supply Chain Now Radio to really diversify our thought leadership and what we cover, because in the global Indian supply chain space, there's so much you could cover in an hour podcast. Just you don't have enough time. So, unfortunately, one of the things we learned is that we weren't doing a great job offering a diverse speakers bureau, for lack of a better word, right? We had a very monolithic. If you looked at all of our guests through 100 episodes or so, unfortunately, we didn't do a good job offering a lot of diverse thought leadership. So one of the things, and we put a few things in place to try to address this, and we're still on a journey. But one of the things we did that really worked well and resonated, and we got a lot of feedback on, is creating this full access series.
Yeah,
it spotlights women, exceptional leaders first off, but exceptional leaders that happen to be women across industry. And Greg, I know that's really resonated with you as well, right?
I have 3 daughters, right? So it's particularly important to me, but also I have a mother and a wife, and that's important as well. So, so can we talk about Cindy and her
Please.
crew? Yeah. Please. So Cindy Lago, who is vice president of the supply chain practice at Capgemini, has stepped up, and Capgemini is going to sponsor that series. They're going to sponsor 5 or so episodes of that series. And we're going to talk to some of the really prominent and well-known, leaders in the industry. We're aiming pretty high, and looking forward to, the common phrase, if you can see it, you can be it, right? We're trying to enable people to be able to see that there is an opportunity despite the the issues and the hurdles in place right now. But like many people have, if you battle through it, there isn't a great opportunity for success. I think back to a number of our previous guests on Full Access who've gone through tremendous trials and tribulations. Tandria Bellamy, Susan Clark, and Tanya Allen. come particularly to mind, but those have been great series and great stories about getting to leadership, not just from the standpoint of being a female in the supply chain or the technology world, but also some of them are, they come from harsh home conditions in terms of both their home life or even their country that they're from. So it was a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to see people really succeed through troubles and tribulations, right?
Absolutely. Adversity.
Love it. And Cindy is, she is a great example of a leader herself. She'll be our first episode, so people get to know her. She's going to help us co-host this thing as we do it. She's going to help us find, guests for the show. We have our own ideas, and she's going to help us find some additionally. I'm excited about it. Yeah.
And Cap Gemini, obviously they're leading huge global initiatives in supply chain. So to tap into Cindy's experience, her expertise, and really her passion, it's going to be an outstanding element, an added dynamic to the show. But we got to go back to something you shared there, because if we had one piece of feedback from all of the outstanding female leaders that we've interacted with, both via the show and just out being in our network, it's that what you shared. They need to see it. There's such a demand to see top female leaders, so that it communicates to your daughters, to my daughters, to our little girls in grade school, that it can be done. They can aspire and reach the top levels of industry, the top levels of government, the top levels of anything. They need to see it. And we've heard that. If we've heard it once, we've heard it 1,000 times. So we're trying to act on that and bake that into our series.
Well, look, we both, and I think a lot of people believe strongly that to get better decisions, to get to more effective solutions, you have to have diversity of thought. I say this often in episodes when you talk about AI, right? When you talk about artificial intelligence, they don't say throw smarter brains at it. They say throw more brains at it, right? 3 people in the room with diverse points of view and diverse upbringings, diverse trials and tribulations, they bring better solutions than one person in the room, or 2 people in a room that look remarkably similar, right, with similar upbringings and that sort of thing. So, look, it's just the nature of things, and it's time. It's well past time. But we're lucky to have a platform where we can advocate for this strongly and hopefully raise awareness, and not just awareness, but raise action, right? Deeds, not words, says my good friend, Scott Luton.
Well, I blatantly stole that from our friends over at Atlanta.
Yeah. Lloyd Knight says it also, right? Exactly. So now there are no new jokes, Scott, only new audiences.
Okay.
So
I like that. Hey, that makes me feel great.
I stole that from a guy who was a comedian.
All right. So to recount real quick, developed number 1 was the Logistics with a Purpose, that new series with Vector Global Logistics. Number 2 was our new partnership with U.S. Bank, diving into their quarterly freight payment index, which we're excited about. And number 3, Cap Gemini's involvement and support for our full access series, and having Cindy, who leads their supply chain practice, having her and her insights as a regular part of that is going to be it's going to take that series to a whole new level. So excited about that. Now, number 4 of 5 is something that folks have probably heard us talk about this quite a bit. We're in year 2 of the Atlanta Supply Chain Awards. With a group of outstanding partners in 2019, we founded the first year, where the whole aim was simple. It's to celebrate supply chain success across the end-to-end supply chain.
Right.
Companies that have some kind of presence in Metro Atlanta. And year 1 was a smashing success, thanks to all the partnerships and thanks to how the market, how it resonated with the market. So we're building in year 2, right, Greg?
Yeah. First of all, we're going to have more people there, half again more. So more attendees. It's going to be tied to MODEX this year, actually occurring at the Georgia World Congress Center where MODEX is happening. It's going to be on March 10th, and a slew of nominations in already, and we're looking for more. By the way, don't be shy. Nominate your own company if you feel strongly about it, right? Tell us a good story. We're really looking to reward and award companies that are either in Atlanta or have a presence in Atlanta, do business in Atlanta, that are doing great things in supply chain. And I think we're both honored to have Christian Fisher, the CEO president and CEO of Georgia Pacific, be our keynote speaker, and Shan Cooper, who is unbelievable, be our MC. She's going to be, it would take you an hour to just talk about her bio. My suggestion is you just go to AtlantaSupplyChainAwards.com and read it. It's fascinating and amazing. And she's still doing great things here in Atlanta to help enable business and business people as well. So, and then, obviously we've got some great sponsors. I think we're going to hear about another big one later today, aren't we?
I believe so.
By the time this publishes, we will have already. So we may have to add a note at the end. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to celebrate what's going on in Atlanta, the supply chain city. You're welcome, Ben Harris and Metro Atlanta Chamber. Look, I've been saying this for years. I've had this discussion in the technology community in Atlanta. This city needs to be recognized for supply chain. We're recognized for fintech. We're recognized for healthcare tech. We need to be recognized. My original position was for supply chain tech, but just supply chain in general.
Yeah.
Right. We have the confluence of three of the busiest interstates in America right here in Atlanta. We have tons of warehousing, lots of physical infrastructure and physical operations in terms of logistics and supply chain, technical, mathematic. We've got Georgia Tech, the premier supply chain university in the world, I would argue, and a great incubation system, both via ATDC and Georgia Tech and other incubators around town. So it's a great environment, and it's time to celebrate.
Absolutely. And it's tough we've had so much support, we can't thank everybody enough. Here recently, though, to tie it back to the third development with full access, one of the recent developments we've had with the Atlanta Supply Chain Awards is we have partnered with Women in Manufacturing in their Georgia chapter. Outstanding organization, national organization. They do so much great work of engaging and creating awareness of women in manufacturing and also bringing in other women that may not have the awareness of what takes place in manufacturing, the careers and opportunities. But anyway, working with WIM, we have created a new award that we're calling the Inclusive Leadership Excellence Award, where basically we're recognizing organizations that have successfully not just engaged women in their workforce, especially at leadership levels, but also they're well represented within the organization, and they've got professional development programs that are providing opportunities for women to advance into top tiers of leadership and
That's
whatnot.
fantastic.
Really excited about that. It was the latest development in a string in the last few weeks, but AtlantaSupplyChainAwards.com to nominate, register to attend, to sponsor, and we should also mention MODEX. MODEX is free to attend. We're so thankful that they're hosting and supporting our event. MODEX show.
Huge.
Yeah. 35,000 of your closest friends and supply chain neighbors coming to Atlanta. As Ben Harris says, the largest supply chain trade show in the Western Hemisphere. So MODEXshow.com to learn more, MODEX show.com. Okay. That brings us to, that was the first four. That brings us to the fifth development that we've already kicked off really here late at the end of 2019, but we'll spill over into 2020. And tell us about that, Greg.
Yeah, so that's Gartner, right? We're working with Mike Griswold on a series we're calling Supply Chain Today and Tomorrow, right? We're still calling it that, right? Yeah, good. So Mike Griswold, grizzled industry veteran from retail and supply chain, and now VP research analyst at Gartner. We've known him for a long time. He was the analyst that I most tried to impress when I was in technology. He is a very knowledgeable individual, both from the standpoint of being an analyst today, but also having been a practitioner for, I'm going to say years, so as not to put years on him, but it might be decades. But he's so knowledgeable. He's very down to earth. Great analyst, great practitioner, great golfer. Don't play him for money. I'm not kidding. And a fantastic basketball coach of a girls basketball team in Boise, Idaho. So
very passionate about that.
Yes, and very knowledgeable in that as well. But look, he knows what you need to know, whether you're a realtor, whether you're a retailer, even if you're a realtor, actually, ask Ward Richmond.
That's right.
If you're a supply chain realtor, you do need to know what he knows. Real estate, retail, manufacturing, distribution, whether you're a technology provider or a services provider, this is the kind of knowledge that you need to have. You can find out what's going on in the industry, what are the needs that need to be met to help you direct your services and product. If you're on the other side of the equation, you can find out who the reliable and good service providers and technology providers are. So if you have an initiative, you know who to consider. And just generally his view on people and processes as well, because none of those solutions survive if you don't have good processes and you don't have buy-in and good training and good people to execute those. So we're going to talk a lot about those things and a lot about very timely subjects in that series. I'm excited about it, obviously.
We are too. We just released the first episode. What also that we talked with him about, and we'll continue talking with him about, because it's such a if you're a football fan, you love your top 25. If you're a supply chain, you got to be intrigued with Gartner's top 25 supply chain rankings that they produce every year. And Mike leads that now. In this episode, which is available, you can go to supplychainnowradio.com to check it out. I think it's episode 241. He talks about some of the changes for the 2020 top 25 supply chain rankings. And it really, it's such a, it's Gartner. You're going to get expert analysis, but there's so much to learn, even if, a lot of it is focused on the public companies and large companies, but it really gives you some insights on where we're headed. And one of the big things, Greg, I think we learned from the first episode was how they're baking in the CSR component.
Yeah,
more and
more social
20-
responsibility into qualifying and ranking in the top 25.
Yep,
man,
so
necessary.
Agreed. We wrapped up with our buddy Tony Sciarrotta with the Reverse Logistics Association, and of course they're a big mantra there about sustainability. So it was welcome news for him, and looking forward to seeing the continued content that comes out from that series with Mike Griswold, VP analyst with Gartner.
Hey, before we wrap, can I tease with a still in development, but honorable mention new offering? So we're gonna start an international series as well. So we have a host for that, and you all are gonna love them, and it's gonna be a really good perspective on international supply chain from people in the international community. So study your foreign languages. It could come at you in any language. Okay. Truth be told, we speak English in 41 countries. So, but really going to be great to include the whole global perspective on supply chain, especially as economies and countries become more borderless over time, right?
Yeah, great point. And what you're alluding to there with 41 countries as we do kind of move to close here today. So As we talked about earlier, we're continuing to look for ways to diversify what we cover and where we cover it, and whose analysis we're featuring. And so part of that is to really, from a global standpoint, we want to truly be a voice of the global end-to-end supply chain industry, and bring you the stories that don't just transpire here in Atlanta. We love doing business in Atlanta, and we'll always be partial, but we want to cover the West Coast. We want to cover Europe. We want to bring you stories from South America. With all that said, as we've been diversifying the content and really trying to get as creative as possible to bring the developments and stories, innovations to our audience, we've seen a lot of feedback, including from a sheer metric standpoint, where we crested over 6 million plays here lately, to, as Greg mentioned, speaking English in 41 countries via third parties. We found that our podcasts have hit business podcast leadership charts in 41 countries in 2019 alone. And we're real, as entrepreneurs, you're real proud that the content that you work really hard to create and the people you look to engage and thought leadership you work hard to pull out of them resonates with the marketplace. And, hopefully all that lands the right way. We are very humble about where we are and what we've done and where we're headed. But, as
Scott's very humble.
Well,
some people are less humble.
Well, you know what? As everyone probably watching this can appreciate, everyone looks at their metrics these days. There's so much data at your fingertips, and even in the podcasting space, digital media space, where sometimes there can be some reindeer games being played, it's so important to make sure that the voice of the customer is front and center. And
we're serving our audience, right? And we want to make sure that we're staying on top of that we're delivering the kind of content that our audience wants. Yeah.
Well put, as always. So, we should, as we close here, I want to recognize just a few of our sponsors that have been there from day one, that we were really excited. The Effective Syndicate, we this year we had the Coach's Corner. That really resonated. We had a lot of interaction featuring Bo Groover. The Effective Syndicate is an outstanding people and process consulting firm, and Bo is talking about passion. Bo's got it in spades, and he also was willing, Greg, which I loved, to put himself out there. Spoke to the market. Hey, bring me your toughest questions, and we're going to dive into them in basically a live podcast. So
hey, I'd like to highlight one of the things that they're doing that I would find valuable if I was trying to solve some problems, and that is they've got this traction concept where not only do they train you on, let's say, Six Sigma or better processes generally, but then they help you implement those, and they kind of work themselves out of a job by getting your people to a higher level of competence. I always loved that model. Look, when I started consulting ages ago, and I mean ages ago, that was a model that I really enjoyed because, one of Bo's passions is to make sure that he actually delivers sustainable results to his clients. And I think that's so important, right? And the model that he's using, I can verify it works. So
absolutely. And so, TalentStream has been there from the beginning. APICS Atlanta, supplychainrealestate.com. Greg mentioned Ward Richmond earlier. What an outstanding resource that brings that specialized view of your real estate needs from a supply chain logistics manufacturing standpoint. Ward does excellent work, he and his team. And then
we both looked at each other. Supply chain real estate, really? There's a business for that? I mean, and we've both been in the industry for a long time to think about the fact that there is somebody who specializes in finding you that next warehouse or distribution center or whatever, depot, whatever it is. It's one of those, why didn't I think of that? Or why didn't I know that existed? But it's really good to have that level of specialization. And Ward is as much, maybe more, a studier of supply chain than he really is real estate. I mean, what we've learned from talking to him is that he gets really engaged in learning about real estate, and it helps him be more effective in doing what he's doing as a realtor. So absolutely. Interesting approach for sure.
Yep. And then we should also recognize Verison, which is an outstanding
No doubt.
We're based here in Atlanta. We've talked about Vector Global Logistics, and then we've talked about the Reverse Logistics Association. We're looking forward to their covering their conference in February, and finally Spend Management Experts, which we've talked about freight and controlling spend in general. SME is doing a lot of great work helping organizations really optimize their supply chain performance. So, I don't think we missed anybody thus far. We'll
get back to them later. We did.
Well, we are really excited. I want to thank our listeners and our supporters and our advocates. This is absolutely a journey of deliberate passion. I mean, this is the folks we sit down with. These are stories that have got to be heard. Greg mentioned some of the personal journeys through adversity that Full Access series covers, and every episode and every interview is not the same. But when you sit down with someone that's overcome some of the trials and the challenges that some of these folks, some of these leaders have overcome, hopefully it inspires our audience as much as it inspires us. So with that said, Greg, any final words before we wrap?
2019, a wild, wacky, up and down year. Overall, great. And we all made it through. And I think it's great to look back on it, right, and think about what you liked about it, what you'd like to change into the coming year. Join us and share the journey of some of these folks that we're talking to. You're going to learn a lot, and I learn a lot in every episode. So you're going to learn a lot, and if you've got something you'd like to see from us, let us know. Sound off, really.
1 minute. All right, so Malcolm just dropped me a note that I did for ProPurchaser.com.
Oh yeah, right.
Great partner of ours in the procurement best practices space. So check them out, ProPurchaser.com. Outstanding resource.
Thank you, Malcolm, as always.
He's always saving us from putting our foot in our mouth. Well, hey, really have enjoyed this, Greg. Great. Loved working together along with all the folks on the team, Amanda and Clay and Jessica and Chris and Kelly and Michelle and all of the folks that have played a part. 2020 is bright for the industry. There's not a better time to be involved in global and in supply chain, and it's also very bright for our business because of the folks that come on and want to share their thoughts and best practices and insights.
Yeah.
So thanks for all the support, and we will see y'all in 2020, if not sooner. Thanks, Greg.
All right. Take care.